Whoops, wrong site. Went to the wrong scene. Sorry about that. Got like 10 things going on at once on this computer. Welcome into the MPW Digital Postgame Show. I'm Neil McCready. Ole Miss defeats Arkansas 2-0 today in an elimination game. Connor Nolan for Arkansas was really good. He was not as good as Dylan DeLucia of Ole Miss, who was absolutely phenomenal for Ole Miss. He goes the distance. I'll pull up a box score in a minute. 9 full innings for Dylan DeLucia. Went by himself on short rest, coming off of a fairly long outing on Saturday, and was absolutely terrific for Ole Miss. They advanced to play Oklahoma. I've got the schedule there in the stream, on the scroll, I should say. Ole Miss and Oklahoma play game 1 on Saturday, 6 p.m. The Sunday game is an afternoon game, and then the Monday game, if necessary, is on Monday night. All of those games on ESPN. I know people are going to ask those questions. It's all right there. This stream, as it has been throughout the postseason, starting with the Super Regional Clincher, brought to you by the College Corner, collegecornerstore.com. Please visit them. Buy your Ole Miss branded College World Series gear from the people at the College Corner. You're now 2 wins from a national championship, and should that national championship happen, the College Corner will have Ole Miss national championship gear available immediately at collegecornerstore.com. Go visit them. Make sure they know how much that you appreciate. Look at this. The graphics are just flying all over the page. I got to get the thing in the right spot. Sorry. We'll have guests in a minute. Jeffrey Wright will join. Brian Rippee will join. Chase will join from Omaha as soon as he is finished with postgame stuff. It's 5:22. I'm not going to lie to you. At 7 p.m., I'm going to be distracted by the NBA draft, which begins tonight. I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. My son is a huge Oklahoma City Thunder fan. They have the second pick in the draft. So I'll be distracted at that point. Big thanks also to Corinth Dental Clearwater Group for making our coverage a little easier on the pocketbook this week. Clearwater Group, if you're ever dealing with any government issues at all, get in touch with Austin and all the people at the Clearwater Group. Clearwatergroup.ms is the website. They've been fantastic to us in the past. They sponsored our Sugar Bowl coverage back in December and January. Stepped up again for us here this month, as the trip to Omaha is now a good 9-10 day trip. It's not cheap. Also to Corinth Dental, corinthdental.com. Great services, including Invisalign. You can get in touch with Corinth Dental and get a no-cost digital scan of your teeth. And they step up, sponsor our Oxford Exxon podcast every single day, and went a little extra here in the month of June to help our coverage of the College World Series. We certainly appreciate them, and I know you guys do too. So we'll get to all that in a minute. I need to pull up a box score. Ole Miss gets a couple of innings with single runs. Again, Connor Nolan goes 8 for Arkansas. He was terrific, and Zach Taylor came in through the 9th for them. Ole Miss only scores 2 runs, but 1 turned out to be plenty. And Dylan DeLucia is the story. He's who we will be talking about throughout the night. I don't have a final pitch count. Like I said, I need to pull that up. In fact, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to find that as I get to Jeffrey in a minute. I meant to do that. This game went so fast. Absolutely flew by. 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. I mean, just incredible how fast the game went. I was anticipating not going on till about, 6:30 or something, and here it is at 5:24, and we're already into the show. So let me find that score. Let's see. There's the final. Ole Miss 2, Arkansas 0. Let me get to a box here. Ole Miss only had 7 hits. It's 2 runs. Runs driven in by Kevin Graham and also Calvin Harris. Ole Miss scores in the Ole Miss scores 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 7th. Kevin Graham had a double. It was his 11th of the season. Drove in his 50th run of the season. Calvin Harris drove in his 20th run of the season. But the story again: Dylan DeLucia, 9 innings, He gave up 4 hits, obviously no runs, did not walk a soul, struck out 7. He threw 113 pitches, 75 for strikes. 113 pitches, 75 for strikes. He was great. And again, I mean, you almost have to appreciate just how good he was. Gave up hits to Michael Turner, Chris Lanzilli, Robert Moore. I only have 3 hits that I see. The box score says 4, but I only see 3. Anyway, Connor Nolan goes 8 for Arkansas. He gives up 7 hits, 2 runs. They were earned. He did not walk anybody either. 7 strikeouts. I mentioned Evan Taylor came in and pitched the 9th for Arkansas. He was perfect in that inning, did not walk anyone, struck out 1. Connor Nolan, very efficient. Again, he was efficient against Stanford on Saturday, very efficient against Ole Miss. 84 pitches, 58 for strikes. Taylor got through the 9th with 7 pitches, 6 for strikes. So an incredibly well-pitched baseball game for both teams. But Dylan DeLucia, just fantastic. We'll be talking about him. A legendary performance, one that people will be talking about for a long time. We talk about that Drew Pomeranz performance all the time back against Western Kentucky in the Super Regional round. I think this one topped it. This was amazing. This is just an amazing performance. If you had told Dave Van Horn before the day that he would just give up 2 runs to Arkansas, I think he would thought he would be celebrating tonight. He is not. That was just incredible how good Dylan DeLucia was. A lot of you in, so we appreciate you being a part of us. Let me take care of another couple of things that I need to make sure I do. This will be the Friday morning podcast. So it's the Oxford Exxon podcast. Oxford Exxon's been taking care of us for, 10, 11 years now. I lose track of time. Highway 6 West in Oxford. It's the Oxford Exxon. There's another Exxon in Oxford that claims to be the Oxford Exxon. It's not. The Oxford Exxon's Highway 6 West in Oxford. Always clean, always great. They've got it's a great place to fill up, great place to go inside, snacks, drinks, beer selection, everything right there at the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford, next door to the Oxford Crystal. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi. Speaking of people who've been with us for a long time, who've taken care of us, Corey Clark and the people at Clark Ford, absolutely awesome. Been great friends of this podcast for I don't know how many years now. I lost track. I'm in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call the number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote and do what you want with it. You can shop it around. That's your prerogative, obviously, or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today. My whole family's driving them. Would recommend that you drive them as well. Great service, great product. They go above and beyond with service all the time at Clark Ford. Guest, Jeffrey Wright in a minute, and Brian, and then Chase all join on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford, a great place to have a burger, po' boy, appetizers, great beer selection, full bar, and more there at Rafters on the Square. Also, don't forget Rafters in New Albany. And if you're heading out to Sardis, it's going to be super hot this weekend. It was 100 degrees at one point in Oxford today. So if you're heading out to Sardis, make sure you stop by Rafters on the Water, frozen margaritas, cold beers, burgers, and more there at Rafters on the Water in Sardis. So I know a couple people have already super chatted. I appreciate you guys. Let's see. I want to call you out and thank you for it if I can find it. Sammy, thanks, big guy. Sammy says, Loosh ×2. Congratulations, Rebs and OEP family. As always, thanks to us for the spectacular coverage. Appreciate you very much. Gulf Coast Reb, Bell's Two-Hearted Ale on you. I'll take you up on that. Appreciate that very much. And Pocket Watch, thank you also as well. So thanks for you guys taking care of us. Richard B. just in with another super chat. Really appreciate that. It means a lot. We might be begging for super chats by Monday. This was in middle of April when Ole Miss was really scuffling. I don't think we thought we were going to Omaha for 10 days. So anyway, it's exciting time for you guys, exciting times for Ole Miss. So let's get to Jeffrey, get his thoughts. Brian was going to join first, but he thought this game would last a while, so he's still driving home. So I'm gonna I'll get Jeffrey on first, and then we'll get to Brian after that.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
I am well, sir. Well, I guess we should start where we kind of left off last night. And, we made the comment of, I thought this was going to be a fun baseball game. I know maybe for Ole Miss fans, at times it was stressful, but the things that, the thing that I was really looking forward to is Nolan and DeLucia to me just remind me of similar guys. Like they're just competitors. And, much like last night, I thought John Gaddis was really good. I thought Connor Nolan was really good tonight. But I mean, holy hell, Dylan DeLucia. We said we didn't know if anyone would have their A stuff and be sharp. If that one guy did, it felt like that was the team that was going to punch their ticket into the championship series. And Dylan DeLucia had more than his A stuff. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
It was really. I mean, yeah. I've been saying this a couple of times. I mean, Connor Nolan was very, very good. He gives up a single run in the fourth, a single run in the seventh. Pitching on short rest. I mean, I think if you had offered that to Dave Van Horn before the game, he would have said, "Sign me up." And DeLucia started a little slow. Arkansas had a couple on in this first inning. The slider wasn't super sharp, and then about the second inning, he kicked into gear and had them completely off. Had them completely off balance throughout the game. He was throwing 3 pitches for strikes. It was a big strike zone for both teams. That umpire had a big zone. Both pitchers took advantage of it. He just kept Arkansas completely off balance. They hit a couple of balls hard. They made a couple of good plays. Graham made a really good play out in left field. He ran into trouble in the 7th, I think. Arkansas got a couple on with 2 outs.
Yes, that was the 7th.
Bianco came out to see him. Stuck with him, and he had Slavens at the plate, who just the night earlier hit the longest home run in the history of that ballpark, and he got him to ground out to second. Peyton Chatney made a nice play, and I mean, you know the rest. I mean, and then he just completely settled in the 8th and the 9th, and there was no drama at all after that. He was just dealing, and you sent me a text, so you have to take him out, right? And you're conventionally you're like, yeah, 4th time through the lineup, sure. But I was like, no. I mean, he's got that look, and I think at that point he'd earned the right to try to finish that game. I think if Arkansas had gotten a guy on, or maybe 2 guys on in the 9th, you go make a move. But the way he was pitching, why in the world would you do Arkansas a favor and take him out?
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking was starting kind of in the 7th and 8th inning, the counts kept getting up, and to me. I didn't feel like he had his command, but credit to Mike for knowing, hey, this is the guy that got me here, and can probably also reasonably make the case, hey man, who knows what the future holds in terms of whether or not. I'm sure the first question is going to be, well, does this mean he's done for the tournament? I don't, push came to shove. I don't see Dylan DeLucia saying I can't take the ball. I see him demanding the ball, but I mean we're a long way from that, but. The bigger point is, yes, while Ole Miss did not get to the championship series with their number 1 and number 2 starters, other than that, Neil, that bullpen's fresh.
Yeah.
Mallets has been a weapon. Johnson, had kind of a scratchy performance the other night, but his fastball looked good. And, as Chase mentioned, sometimes when you're a closer and you come in with a big lead, sometimes it's a little more difficult to pitch, but the biggest thing with DeLucia is he had 3 different instances. So he retired 9 straight, sprinkled in, I think, the kind of like a seeing eye single in there, then retired another 9 straight. Then we had the 7th inning kind of little, and neither one of those balls were really hit that hard. And then he retires 7 straight to close the game. An Arkansas runner didn't get past third base. I mean, we're talking about, given the magnitude of the moment, given the stage, and that's one of the finest performances in Ole Miss sports history.
Yeah, I can't argue with a word of that. We've always talked about the Pomeranz start.
Yep. It was 2009, by the way. I misspoke. I forgot it was a sophomore year.
This was better. This was. I mean, given the stakes. I mean, look, this was a national semifinal game. Arkansas had beaten Ole Miss last night to force a single elimination game. It was a national semifinal game. And to pitch that way, short rest or not, but throw in the short rest part of it, throw in the fact that the guy on the other side was as good as he was, because, I mean, if he's not sharp, you look at the way that Nolan pitched, you'd be in trouble. And to just dominate that way was just remarkable.
And, I mean, another thing to me, we talked about it. When you have two teams that are, I think we can safely say at this point, Neil, they played 6 times, and I think each team's won 3. And I think Ole Miss technically has the aggregate score because of the blowout win. But these two teams are pretty darn evenly matched. And much like last night, I'm not even trying to be like, high and mighty, but I really am just a massive believer of players make plays. Kevin Graham, who, had a miserable night last night, rips that ball down the line with 2 outs, and it looked like, Ole Miss was going to squander an opportunity, kind of like they did last night. And the fact that Ole Miss was able to get the lead, I just feel like that, so much for this team is momentum. And when they get going because they don't really panic. But it's almost like once they get the lead, it just starts to build on each other. And, they didn't play a perfect game. If they're going to win a national title, I think they need better play out of their shortstop. I do. But, Ole Miss is now 25-7 when scoring first. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, I don't either. Yeah. And Gonzalez has had a tough College World Series. He hadn't played particularly well. Elko hasn't given him a lot. Gave him something tonight. I mean, he got on and I think ultimately scored a run or drove in a run. I can't remember exactly. I think he scored a run. Graham got him in.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was on second. He was on second in the first inning, and then Graham ripped the ball down the line.
That's right. The ball that went off Stovall's glove. I mean, game of inches right there. But if you're spin forward just a little bit, you just saw that. I'm assuming you would go with Elliott on Saturday, even though he's on fairly short rest. He went Monday, so he'd have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He'd have 4 full days rest.
I mean, basically, I think he will be in the same scenario that DeLucia was in tonight.
Yeah, someone in the thread's asking the question that I was trying to kind of formulate in my mind. Do you even contemplate the idea of we have a fresh Mallets, you have a fresh?
I'm with you.
And give him that extra day. Because you can't go. Look, if you go to DeLucia, you're not going to DeLucia until Monday. That's impossible that he could go before that. So you're going to have to win your Hunter Elliott game. Don't you want to maximize your chance there by giving him as much rest as you can?
I personally would, but I guess that's 2 questions. What do I think will happen, and what would I do?
Yeah.
Mike's going to throw Elliott on Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And look, I know nothing about,
Now, and honestly, here is the one thing that I would probably there's a game where I'm starting and I'm seeing how far it can go, and then after that, I'm handing the ball to Johnson and I'm seeing how far that I'm piecemealing it, because you're going to have a game. You're going to have a game where you do it like that. And I just, in the end, I expect Mike's going to start that game. And there's something to be said, if you get the first one, then all you got to do is figure out a way to get one of the next 2. And
sure.
So piecemeal it that way. But I actually think there's some logic to it, but I guess in the end, I don't think Mike's going to do that.
Have you watched enough of Oklahoma to even have anything resembling a scouting report? I haven't. I've watched them. I guess I've watched them.
I feel like both of us watched a good bit of that Florida series.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The thing that stands out to me is, like, if you just I swear to God, if you just switch jerseys, you wouldn't know. Like, the teams are very, very similar.
Yeah, I watched
both. I mean, that's the thing. Ole Miss is. This is my question. Have Ole Miss's bats gone cold, or did they have the unfortunate reality of playing their side of the College World Series against conference opponents.
That's what it was. No, yeah, I think it's that. Look, Auburn's a very good team. He's a very good coach. And Arkansas is a very good team, very good coach. Arkansas finishes the season with, 46 wins? I mean, people just don't do that. Bad teams don't win 46 games. And so they've played Ole Miss a lot. That was Arkansas' 6th time to play Ole Miss. They've scouted the hitters. They know how to get the hitters out. They've pitched to them, and they're good. Look, give Arkansas a ton of credit over the last 2 days. They played really good baseball. They held Ole Miss in 18 innings to 4 runs.
Yeah.
I mean, it pitched. You don't do that without pitching well. So, no, I think things will open up a little bit when you play a team that hasn't seen you before. I think
the postseason.
Yeah, I think the fact that you've just played, look, Ole Miss hit Miami. I mean, not Miami. They hit Arizona. They hit Southern Miss. When you face teams that know you, that have scouting, that have watched you all year, that have sent coaches out for advanced scouting, that have pretty detailed reports, you have – everybody's got weaknesses. Everybody's got holes in their swing or holes in their game at the college level. And if you execute pitches, you can take advantage of that. Look at today. I mean, Ole Miss had a very comprehensive scouting report on Arkansas, and as long as you execute those pitches, you can get those guys out. And they did. I mean, that's a good Arkansas lineup that he shut down. So I think it's that more than it is anything else. I don't think it's that guys are in like slumps or something.
Yeah, I tend to believe with you because in baseball, when you start to have familiarity, that's what you see. I kind of wanted to go back, though, to something you mentioned earlier about DeLucia. I almost think it was important that I think it was big in terms of how the start went, that he didn't have that slider early. Because for better or worse, there's nothing Mike Bianco loves more than calling a slider. I think the fact that his slider wasn't good, it showed you how good his fastball was today.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times did you just see guys? It was either when you've ever been in the box and you got that guy that not only throws hard, but he throws hard with late life and it moves.
Yep.
They just didn't get the barrel on very much. And, they were getting sawed off. There's nothing worse than that two-seamer in where you finish with like kind of the half swing. Like it's almost like you're like in between a baseball swing and a golf swing like that. And I just felt like it was probably important for him to maybe not be super sharp with the breaking stuff. And then once he started dominating with the fastball, well, then he got a little more comfortable with the breaking stuff. And I mean, it was masterful, man. I mean,
yeah.
what a
Had he been pitching to wood bats, he'd have broken a few today.
Oh God.
Yeah.
How many broken bats?
I mean, 5 or 6 at least. Yeah. He was just on. Yeah. I mean, and he didn't work a lot of 3-ball counts. He stayed ahead. They were aggressive against him because they didn't want to get late in the count and see that slider, and he took advantage of that with his fastball, and he located well, got a lot of weak contact, and then a few times when Arkansas hit it hard, they hit atom balls. Ole Miss hit some of those too. Again, I mean, I feel like a broken record. Both teams pitched really, really well. Dylan DeLucia just pitched great. There was
I guess what I'm struggling with is like, what was the most, like, the thing that makes this performance so amazing is if I sit there and ask you what was the most impressive thing to you, like, I feel like we could have 5 different things. Neil, he didn't walk anybody.
Yeah, he didn't walk. Neither team walked anybody the whole game. Which is one of the reasons.
Shout outs to the strike zone.
Yeah, that was a big zone. It was a big zone. I mean, he was. Both dugouts probably were a little worked up at times, but I think what impressed me the most is, given how deflated that team was last night, you couldn't help but go to bed last night thinking, they might have blown their opportunity.
Oh, sure.
And to come out and to.
Well, and by the way, before you go on, I believe the numbers bear it out. When the 2-0 team loses, I didn't see like the final number. When the 2-0 team loses, they had a sub 500 record in the next game, in the elimination game.
Sure, because you're playing a team that's on a hot streak. I mean, there's a reason Arkansas wore gray today. They were like, hey, we're on a roll. We're winning in gray. Let's keep wearing it. again, I just think there was no he had very little margin for error. Ole Miss didn't score till the fourth. They only got one run. I mean, he gives up a bloop and a blast, and you're in trouble. And I think what strikes me is just how perfect he was. He just did not make mistakes. He didn't like you said, he didn't issue walks. He didn't allow Arkansas to pressure him, but a couple of times. I guess they had 2 on in the first, the 2 on in the seventh that we mentioned. But other than that, he just kept the bases clean. He just let his guys play behind him, and he was fantastic. It was a game that, no matter what happens in this championship series, it's a game that people will be talking about for a long, long time.
I mean, 4 hits, and did any of them – like, I don't feel like any of them were hit hard. Like, I felt like every single one of them was either kind of a ground ball through the hole or like –
Yeah. No, the hardest balls they hit, the hardest ball they hit the entire game was
the left field.
Yeah, the Graham made a good play.
Graham made a good play.
I think that was Moore that hit that.
I think that was kind of, whether or not you want to believe it, I thought that was a good omen because he's had a tough time in left field, and maybe the game starting a little bit earlier made it easier. But, that was a really, really tough play, and he made it. And it just felt like for most of the game, even though I think Ole Miss made a couple of, they had a couple of mistakes defensively. But, man, when they had to make plays, I was just so impressed.
For sure. Hey, I appreciate you doing this all week. We'll look forward to talking to you on Saturday night.
All right. It's Big Jeff's birthday, so bet accordingly. It's Big Jeff's birthday, and everyone's going over to the house to watch the Rebels.
We'll look forward to talking to you. Happy birthday to your dad.
All right. Thanks, Neil.
See you, man. That was Jeffrey Wright. Appreciate him doing this all week long. We'll do it again at least 2 more times. Going to get Brian on now.
What's up?
Brian, thanks for joining. You and I were talking about it. You thought you'd have plenty of time to get back to the house. This game was like 2 hours and 9 minutes, I think is what I read just a minute ago. A pitching masterpiece. Both pitchers pitched well. One pitched incredibly. What were your thoughts on Dylan DeLucia, and what are your takeaways?
Yeah, that was one of the most unreal pitching performances I've really seen considering the stage by anyone at any level. And you're right, Connor Nolan was really good today too, but Dylan DeLucia was just like beyond human. He allowed 4 hits. 2 of those were kind of dribblers in the infield. I don't really remember the other 2. There wasn't a whole lot of hard contact. Neil, if I'm not mistaken, I believe 2 guys passed first base today. 2 with that everything on the line. That was It was almost like watching a guy having an out-of-body experience, because even when he missed today, the big strike zone aside, they were purposeful misses. You didn't see a whole lot of pitches sail or spike in the dirt. He was about as locked in as you could possibly be.
Yeah, Arkansas got runners on second base twice. Never got a runner to third. Got runners to second twice. He never looked tired. He never gets rattled. Neither guy got rattled, in fairness to Nolan. He was masterful. I'm kind of having a hard time coming up with new words here. You knew this was going to be a really good game. You and I talked about it. You knew it would be a good game. You knew these were 2 proud programs, 2 good teams, really good teams. You knew what was coming. I didn't think we'd get this, though. I'll be honest. I thought both guys would wear out, and that this would turn into a little bit of a bullpen game, and that this was going to be more of a 7-6 game. I would have never believed 2-0.
I wouldn't have either. I thought maybe 6 runs could win this game for Ole Miss today, as I thought about things last night. But I didn't think 2 would come remotely close. But in a way, as unexpected as it may have been, given the short rest and everything else, isn't it kind of fitting? How many times has he delivered Ole Miss a start like that when they needed it most this year? And not even just the quality outing, it's the way it unfolded. Going back for the encore inning to kind of finish his work, north of 100 pitches. Mike was pretty comfortable allowing him to do that early on. Hell, a lot of times they needed it to save the bullpen for the rest of whatever series they were in. And that looked exactly like that. It was just on a much bigger stage. And once he left in the 8th, I didn't really have any doubt he was coming back out in the 9th. It was just kind of assumed, which is kind of crazy to think about a guy who'd pitched 8 shutout innings and was over 100 pitches.
Yeah, you're right. Although the way he looked in the dugout, I think if Mike had tried to pull him, there might have been an altercation. I mean, I don't think he was going to give the ball up voluntarily. I think if Arkansas had gotten a runner on, maybe 2 runners on, that would have been a different thing in the 9th, and that we would have come and gotten him. But I can't imagine having to go up to Dylan DeLucia the way he was pitching and go, "Hey, we're going to go to the bullpen." And frankly, and no offense to Mallets or Johnson, why? And I asked Jeffrey this: why in the world would you do that favor to Arkansas? Because the first thing they would love in that game is, hey, get him out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and most of their harder contact came on balls that were outs, and they came earlier in the game. There was a stretch there in the 3rd and 4th innings as Arkansas was turning over the lineup for the first time that they started making some more solid contact. Ole Miss got fortunate that a couple balls were hit right at guys or sailed a little bit on balls in the outfield. Kevin Graham made a nice play. Calvin Harris made a nice play. But from the 5th, 6th inning on, there wasn't a ton of hard contact. They seemed to struggle worse the 3rd and 4th time through, picking up on, whether it was the 2-seamer or the backdoor slider to left-handers. It was just, they really had no answers, and it almost seemed like it digressed in terms of their ability to see him throughout the course of the game. And obviously, usually it's the opposite. You said it a second ago. I'm running out of words to describe it. I mean, that was masterful.
Have you watched enough Oklahoma this season to be able to even do anything resembling a scouting report on them, or what you sort of expect? I mean, I've watched a lot of SEC basketball, but I didn't watch the Sooners until the tournament. I watched them some in the Florida regional. I did watch some of their super regional against Virginia Tech, and I've seen them some. I actually watched a decent amount of their game against Texas A&M, but I don't feel like I've got a big enough body of tape, if you will, to talk about what kind of team they are. They're obviously hot. They're obviously good. Any idea how they kind of match up?
I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't watch much of Oklahoma this year. I caught a little bit of, I forgot who they played on Thursday of the Big 12 tournament maybe. And beyond that, it was just what I saw in the regional and the super regional. But here at the Rippee Wright's Film Laboratory, we'll do some great YouTubing and try to figure it out as best we can. But I'm kind of in the same boat. It doesn't seem like a team that's going to overwhelm you starting pitching-wise, which I think will probably play into a bigger advantage that they're kind of being able to set it the way they want to and being fully rested, whereas Ole Miss had to play the extra game. Really hot offense, and really beyond that, I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to learning more. But
the shortstop for them, number 20, I love his game. He's every time you look up, he's on base. I can't remember the last time he wasn't on base. Every time I look up in an Oklahoma game, he's like standing on second base. Really good player. They've had a hot finish to their season. They won the Big 12 tournament. Obviously, they're undefeated in the College World Series. Should be a lot of fun. They've got a couple of starters who throw hard, a couple of aces, kind of like Ole Miss does. Which, speaking of, let's get into this. I want to get your thoughts on if you're Mike Bianco, how do you set up your pitching rotation for this, knowing that if you have DeLucia, you don't have him realistically until Monday?
I'd feel a little bit better about my answer once I kind of figure out where Oklahoma's at and what they're going to throw. But I think you just have to go with Elliott game 1, don't you? I would just want my best opportunity. If you know at best you're going to get DeLucia for a game 3, and that's coming off him throwing 118 pitches or what he did, and that'll be his 3rd outing in 9 days or so. And you saw that a couple times in the regular season with mixed results, but he definitely looked a little bit flatter in that outing against A&M after he kind of had the rain-bridged start against LSU. And so with all that said, I think you probably go Elliott game 1. I guess it wouldn't stun me if Mike went with the Gaddis or a Washburn, or I guess Derek Diamond would probably surprise me. But I think you just go with Elliott game 1. And then at that point, they've been not almost unbeatable, but really damn good when he's on the mound. And I would just feel better about going with him in game 1 and just having 2 shots to figure it out. Because you also got to kind of see where DeLucia's at. I don't think there's any doubt that you see him again. I don't think there's much doubt that he starts if it comes to a game 3. But
Yeah.
with that kind of workload, I'd just like to see where he's at in 2 days.
That's kind of my point. I mean, I know he's going to want to pitch, but realistically, he's not going Saturday. Realistically, he's not going Sunday. Realistically, he's if he's starting, he's going on Monday, because that would be 3 days rest after 113 pitches today on short rest. You're starting to ask a lot of that slider at that point. The question would be, do you give Elliott an extra day and start him on a game 2 and see if you can Johnny Holstaff and steal a game 1 and maybe try to end it on a game 2?
Yeah, I think that's the real question. And I'm curious to see what Bianco does there. Where do you fall on that? I just would – the days rest aside, I'm just going Elliott. I mean, it's 5 versus 6.
I don't know enough about him. Like, I mean, obviously he's a tough kid and he wants to pitch, and I don't know enough about him in terms of what has he looked like in the past, if he's ever pitched on short rest. Is he as sharp? Is he as in command? How much does the extra day of rest help him? Those are things that I'm sure they have a pretty good feel for. Obviously, I'm not around them, so I don't. I'm like you, though. You see Washburn and Daugherty and Gaddis, and you know that you have Mallets, and you know that you have Johnson. Held the whole damn bullpen's completely fresh now, which is remarkable. You think about it, right? If you thought that Elliott would be sharper on Sunday than he would be on Saturday because of the extra day of rest, you'd think about going Johnny Holstaff, because you're going to have to go Johnny Holstaff one of the 2 days, Brian.
Yeah.
Dylan DeLucia is not pitching Saturday, and he's not pitching Sunday. So you're going to have to do the Holstaff thing one game or the other. And if your goal is to get it to DeLucia on Monday, then you have to win one of the 2 games. If you win 2, obviously, congratulations, you pop the champagne. But if you know you're going to pitch a game 3, it means you got to win one of the first 2. And so Elliott's your best bet. I want him at his optimal, whatever that is.
Yep, I'm with you there.
Does that make sense? There's no difference. There's no difference between winning game 1 and losing game 2 than there is losing game 1 and winning game 2. It's the same thing.
Right. No, I mean, exactly. I mean, it's just finding a way to win 2, and probably some of that will have to do with what Oklahoma runs out. I'm sure they can kind of fix that where they want to, but I'd be curious if their Friday night guy will start game 1 or game 2 based on who pitched on, I guess that would have been Wednesday for them. So I don't know. I probably lean just going ahead, because whatever Elliott is on short rest, is that better than what you'll have between the Johnny Holstaff? Because I don't think it necessarily matters that Gaddis and Washburn pitch, particularly not Washburn, on Wednesday. But Gaddis did go 5 innings, and so if he's in your plans of the Johnny Holstaff, does rest factor in with him at all?
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. It's a lot to weigh.
Yeah, it's a big decision. Hell, it's a great decision to be able to make, though. What does it mean for the program to be in the spot?
This just almost feels like a Mike Bianco validation, vindication, whatever word you want to use for it, Tor. I mean, he's put together championship level teams through the years. They just haven't achieved the desired result through the postseason. And so, in terms of the future, I don't know exactly what this means. I'd like to think the law of averages eventually plays out with this Ole Miss baseball program, and they have more frequent visits to the College World Series, because they've continuously knocked on the door. I mean, you think about from 2014 on, they've made what? 1, 2, 3, 4 supers over that time span. You hosted 1, 2, 3, 4 regionals. I guess that may have the count wrong there, but they've been knocking on the door, and this finally feels like validation of what Mike Bianco's built as a program. And so I don't know what it means, because they were already kind of right there on the doorstep of it. This is just the first team to finally break through and get there. I know the 14 team got there, but this felt like the first team with aspirations of winning it once they got there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they're now 2 wins away from being national champs. I mean, it's hard to get a lot closer than this. I mean, this goes far beyond enjoying getting to Omaha. Before the season, it was Omaha or bust. Well, they met that requirement, and now it feels like you're right there. I mean, as hot as any team in the country, Ole Miss has now won. I guess they won 3, 5. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. I mean, they're super hot. The loss, I didn't even realize this when in the interview with Mike, where they said this was the first time they lost a game in almost a month. I was like, oh, that's about right, isn't it? When they lost to Arkansas last night, it was the first time they lost in like 3.5 weeks. Really remarkable. It's incredible, really, isn't it?
The Vanderbilt game?
Yeah, since the Vanderbilt game, they had not lost a game until last night. That's why I thought what was so big about today for Ole Miss was, that loss was tough. That loss was had you questioning a little bit. Hey, has our, not luck, but has our good fortune run out? And you go out and you play a team that you knew that you were facing their ace, and look, he was really good. I mean, that's what's interesting to me about it all, is that you knew you were going to get a really strong outing from a team that is capable of beating you, and you did, and you were able to overcome it less than 24 hours after losing a really painful game.
And it's really just all on the back of DeLucia. I mean, look, I didn't think they were great against Nolan today. I thought they did just enough to apply just enough pressure.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a ton of good swings off of him today as well. I mean, you'd have been talking about this game in the exact same light as we were talking about, or some people were talking about last night, had Arkansas just cracked DeLucia at all. But he really never allowed them to even flirt with it, aside from the 2 singles he allowed with 2 outs in the first inning. After that, over the final 8 innings of the game, they didn't even really scare scoring a run. I mean, they didn't come close to running into one over the fence. It's remarkable. I mean, he's kind of the start and end of this story today, because, like I said, I mean, if he's somewhat human, we're probably talking about this game very differently. We're probably talking about what happened to the offense.
Yeah, well, I think you'd be talking about Connor Nolan. I mean, that's my point. I mean, I thought he was terrific. DeLucia was just better, a lot better. He was dominant. He didn't make a mistake. And as crazy as it is, I mean, Ole Miss's first run, it was a hit. It would have been a difficult play, but a ball kind of just got underneath Robert Moore's glove. They got that run in the 7th. They got a man on. They were able to string some hits together, score a run. I know they kind of ran themselves out of potentially a big inning with the second out at second base, but when they did have opportunities, they took advantage of them, because they didn't have too many opportunities. There was not a lot of traffic on the bases for Ole Miss either.
And another part about it, I know we discussed this a little bit last night when we talked about, will they come out flat? Will they come out tight? Whatever narrative you would want to kind of put out there, it was none of that. I didn't think. I thought they played, decently well in the field. Arkansas was unbelievable in the field, by the way. I mean, that was probably going to be the difference in the game, had a couple balls bounce the other way, but neither here nor there. I mean, I thought they came out with great energy despite the lack of success at the plate, and it just really all falls in line with how the season's gone. DeLucia has injected that into them time and time again. When they were really reeling after that Tennessee series, they didn't have a great offensive performance that Friday night at Kentucky, and he was just kind of heroic and lifted them to a win when they needed it. And, you could point out 4 or 5 other examples throughout the season. I thought, if there was a chance that they were going to get frustrated and become a little bit lethargic, whatever he shoots into them was definitely going to prevent that from happening. And I thought that a little bit of that was on display today, because did you see how fired up they were playing behind him? It was something to watch.
Yeah, he works fast. He took advantage of both guys did, of the big zone, and when that happens, you're on your toes, right? Because hitters have to swing. No walks distributed today. I can't remember the last time I watched a college baseball game that no one walked.
That's probably why it lasted 2 hours. For the one game that I would prefer not to last 2 hours, so I could have gotten in with a little bit more time. I'm sitting there in the 8th inning. I was like, do I stay here at my desk? This is unbelievable. I thought I'd have been home in the 6th.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many innings that so many frames, less than 10 pitches. There was one frame, it was one inning, and I can't remember which one, but Ole Miss saw 7 pitches and Arkansas saw 6. It's like a 13-pitch inning. The whole inning, not the frame of an inning, not a half of an inning, the whole inning. I mean, guys were up there. I think after a few innings, you realized as a hitter for both teams, you realized, hey, if it's close, it's a strike. I've got to be swinging, and they were. And then that's where DeLucia was so good, because if they're going to be that aggressive and your slider is not sharp and you're not commanding the fastball, you leave something center cut, and you only have a run or two for leverage in terms of not leverage, that's not the right word, in terms of just kind of margin for error, that thing could turn on you in a hurry. And he was perfect. He had no room to make a mistake, and he, by God, didn't make one in 9 innings on short rest in a national semifinal game. Remarkable.
As a man who was watching the clock trying to figure out how I was going to make all of this happen, at 4:08, the bottom of the 5th inning started, and at 4:29, the bottom of the 6th inning ended. It was unbelievable. But he honestly coaxed, in a way, he used their aggression to his advantage. He challenged them in such optimal spots of the strike zone and took advantage of it being a bigger strike zone that the first pitch, how much soft contact did he get on first and second pitch outs by just challenging them enough, making them swing, but it being a good pitch and them not being able to barrel it up? It was awesome. I mean, it was whatever adjective you want to use. It was brilliant.
Brian, as always, I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you doing this all week. I look forward to talking to you on Saturday night after game 1.
Sounds good, Neil. Have a good one.
Okay, my man. Bye. I have not heard from Chase yet, so we'll get to him in a little bit. It's 6:06. We've been going about a little over 50 minutes, so he's probably still doing some press conference stuff. I don't know how much he had already written. I'm guessing he had some written. I'll try to ask that. Doors Rules wants to know if DeLucia's gone after this season. I mean, I would think so at this point, right? The fact that he's pitched as well as he has, raised his stakes as well as he has, his stock, I should say. I would think he's going to be drafted at a point where he'd have to seriously contemplate leaving. So what we'll do is while we wait for Chase, I'll take some calls. I said this at the beginning. The NBA draft is in an hour, so I'm probably going to get distracted here in about 53 minutes. So I probably should take some calls while I'm not distracted. All right, there's the number. Thanks to Jay Robertson for the super chat there. I missed a couple here earlier. I want to make sure that I thank those people that did. Terry Cox says, thanks for everything you do. Appreciate you, Terry, very much. Justin says, here's 3 gallons of gas for the way back. Yeah. Will $20 even buy 3 gallons? It'll almost buy 4 gallons. It might even buy 4 gallons depending on where you stop. So thanks to all you guys for the super chats. That's really cool. The number is there. I need to open up my Skype. I'll be honest here. I've worked on the Echo. I don't know that it's completely fixed. I don't know that I know how to completely fix it. So I apologize in advance. I've tried to fix it, but I'm not sure it's completely fixable.
Got it. Personal call.
Hey, who do we have?
Hey, it's John from Oxford.
Hey, John.
Neil,
yes.
When this draft is over, I'm going to pick you up on the way through. We're going to Tunica because you have predicted every single bit of this tournament, and we're going to go ride it out the rest of the night in Tunica. How about it?
Yeah, I mean, I felt all day yesterday that Arkansas was going to win a close game, and I thought today was going to be a super close game. But the reason that I thought it never came to fruition, I thought it was because Ole Miss would have the better bullpen, and turns out bullpens were hardly involved. The Taylor kid for Arkansas came in and threw the ninth, but other than that, it was the 2 starters that went the distance, and I did not see that coming.
I didn't either. And when they build that statue of Elko, it better have one towering over him of DeLucia.
Yeah, I mean that was
by far the greatest pitching performance in Ole Miss history. By far,
I agree.
Takes the Pomeranz out of it, takes all of it out of it.
Yeah, I agree completely. It was an amazing performance, and I'm out of
Who
I'm
who
out
are
of
you
words.
looking to go number one? Did you lay any odds on your NBA draft? I'm not a big NBA guy. Follow the draft a little
Jabari
bit.
Smith from Auburn is going to go number one. I think Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga is going to go number 2 to the Thunder, and then Paolo Banchero is going to go number 3 from Duke. He's going to go to Houston, and then the draft really probably starts at number 4 because Sacramento's there and they're unpredictable. And frankly, Jaden Ivey doesn't want to play there, and he's not a particularly good fit there, so there's no telling what's going to happen starting at 4.
All right, well, we just pissed like 500 people off in the last 5 seconds talking about that, but they can get over it.
They'll get over it, John.
Get over it.
They will.
Hey, have a good night once again. Appreciate what y'all do.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
All right.
Bye. 662-2590. I'm not even sure what the damn number is at this point. Let me pull it up. There it is. I'll take a call. Hey, who do we have? Hey, who do we have?
This is Jason.
Hey, Jason, what's up?
Man, I'm just trying to call in to get on the post-game show and discuss how dominant DeLucia was today.
You're on. Go for it.
All right. So here's the thing. I watched baseball. I'm 46 years old. I watched Ole Miss baseball the entire Mike era. That was the best performance that I've ever seen. He doesn't have major league stuff, but DeLucia is a bulldog, and he just competes. And to be where we're at right now is just it's unreal. I still think in the opening game in the championship series, we don't go with Elliott. I think that we utilize our bullpen. We go to McDaniel. We let him get us 3 innings. If he can get us 3 innings, then we go to our bullpen. And that gives us the best chance to win. But win or lose, I'm so proud of this team and how much they fought. I'm going to hang up right now, and I'm going to, just let you discuss it. I appreciate how much you do for Ole Miss. You and Chase and your coverage is unbelievable.
Appreciate that, Jason. Thank you very much. Yeah, Chase is going to be ready in just a few minutes. I'll ask him what he thinks about strategy moving forward. It's the thing is you got to win 2 games. Doesn't matter whether you win game 1 or game 2 or game 3. You got to win 2 games. I would just pitch Elliott whenever Elliott is at his freshest. And if that's on Saturday, great. If it's not, I'll wait till Sunday. Hey, who do we have?
Hey, Neil, it's Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, I just want to echo what I think the caller before said, that this surpasses Drew as the best pitch game in Ole Miss history by a long shot. And I'm even going to argue that this half season from DeLucia, it may put him as the most beloved pitcher in Ole Miss history. I mean, obviously we still got a little bit of the season left to go that could even sway that some more. But my question, Neil.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Hey, Neil, I'm just going to ask this and then I'll get off and listen.
Okay.
Hypothetically, let's say we're Monday afternoon, we're getting ready for a game 3, and Dylan comes to Mike and says, "Give me the ball. I'm starting this game." What, from your experience watching, all the baseball you've seen, what is even possible for us to expect that kid could do on Monday? I know we're putting the cart way in front of the horse, but I just wanted to throw that out there and get your thoughts.
At this point, who's counting against him? I mean, the question you would have is how sharp would he be? How does he feel? How sharp can his slider be? That was the concern today. Turned out to not be a valid concern because he was very good. It's back-to-back short rest. But by Monday, the adrenaline and all of that stuff, he probably would be fine. The key with him is that he's probably going to ask for the ball on Sunday, and you that's not realistic probably. After 113 pitches in the heat, a lot of high stress pitches, because that game, look, I mean, in the 7th inning, that game is, the go-ahead runs in the batter's box. And so, there was some tension there. So I think you've got to figure out a way to get to Monday to get him the ball.
Agreed. And the last thing I just want to add is, I've given Mike, I know not just me, I've given Mike grief all season on pushing the buttons. From a pitching standpoint, he hasn't pushed a wrong button since we got off the bus in Omaha. It's just been a clinic on how to manage his pitching staff, and I want to give him all the credit in the world for that.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, listen, they're 2 wins from a national championship. It's either going to be them or Oklahoma and nobody else. So it's a hell of an accomplishment.
Thanks, Neil. I always like hearing y'all stuff.
Appreciate you, Jim. Let's see. Want to go here. Thanks to John for the super chat. It says Rebel Grove needs to increase their prices for you guys. Yeah. Hey, man, inflation affects everything except a rival subscription. Thanks to Stephen Downs. Thanks, Neil and Chase. Great coverage. Appreciate that. Thanks to Stephen earlier as well. Appreciate all you guys. I'm going to get Chase on now. He's ready to go. So I'm going to get to Chase while he's available. Then we'll come back and take a few calls. Let's see. Getting to him now on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline.
Neil.
Chase, how are you?
I'm good. I'm standing in a stairwell right now, so hopefully everybody can hear me. It's not going to be too loud as people come barreling through. There is a lot of commotion in the press box, a lot of people just kind of milling about. So where it's been at night in the past, as I've been talking to you, that was not possible. So we're going to stand in the stairwell. We're going to do this thing Ole Miss, Oklahoma, sometime Saturday. I guess 6 o'clock. Is that right? I have not even looked ahead.
Yes, 6 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock. The Saturday game's the Sunday game's an afternoon game. Trying to think even where to start. Dylan DeLucia, you've covered Ole Miss baseball for a long time. I'm assuming that you agree with our callers and the people in our chat who are saying this is the best Ole Miss start in history.
Yeah, for 13 years, that's been held by Drew Pomeranz. His 2009 2 days rest, 16 strikeouts, which is a school record against Western Kentucky, to throw Ole Miss into the Super Regional against Virginia. I mean, it's, in a vacuum, was it more impressive, from a straight stuff standpoint, anything like that? But I tweeted this. Dylan DeLucia, he unseated him today. What Dylan DeLucia did, he's not only pitched the greatest game in Ole Miss school history, he's also put together the best postseason in Ole Miss school history. He throws a shutout against Southern Miss. He beats up Auburn. He wins in the regional. He does so many different things for Ole Miss this postseason. He caps it today with something that I'm struggling, and I need to be a little better than this because it's literally my job to put into complete words when you look at what this means for Ole Miss all the way around. We've talked about how Dylan DeLucia had earned the trust of his teammates. He was that guy that had become a Nikhazy type that when he was out there, it elevated everybody. They were all better because DeLucia was on the mound. And it's somewhat remarkable considering that he wasn't even pitching in February. In March, he wasn't a starter. Even after he had that outing against Kentucky, they didn't throw him against Alabama the next week. I mean, it's kind of crazy looking at how quickly this resurgence the surge has happened for him. And today he's on 4 days rest. Connor Nolan is really sharp, really good for Arkansas. He's got to be almost perfect, and he was. He strikes out 7. He doesn't walk anybody. Ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. He has a weird first inning a little bit. There was the one inning where he basically had to get 5 outs because of some infield defense problems, and he just kept pegging away to the point that Mike Bianco never even checked on him. Mike Bianco did not talk to him after the 8th. He never talked to him after he came out to the mound in the 7th. He knew he wasn't taking him out then, but that's the only time that there was even any communication between the two at that point. So, no, just, phenomenal all the way around. He's currently on pace for a potential College World Series record, too. He hasn't walked anybody this entire College World Series in 16-point innings. The College World Series record for that is Roger Clemens, 17.2 innings in 1983. At some point, if there's a game on Monday, he's going to get the ball then. He goes over 100 pitches, and frankly, he just got better. I don't know that they had a good hard barrel off of him after Slavens in the 5th inning. I mean, he was just remarkable. It was perfection from the standpoint of using what he had. He thought his fastball wasn't there in the early going. He was really relying on sliders. And while he didn't have the huge wipeout slider that he had at times, he could really pinpoint it. He could throw it across plane. He could throw it for strikes. He was using it in all counts. And then when he sort of found the fastball too, especially the left-handers there late, it became a really dominant outing for him at that point, and he was just kind of rolling. I mean, Mike said that he would have gone to Brandon Johnson there in the 9th had someone needed. I thought it was going to be Mallets, but he said it would have been Johnson. But the way DeLucia was throwing, there was no need to that. So, yeah, he did it all himself. It was You're right. It's number one, and I don't think anything's even close. I mean, given the magnitude, and also given that it was Arkansas, that's been Ole Miss's boogeyman to an extent. You look at 2019, you look at some different things. There was a lot of, we talked about this being Mike Bianco's sort of redemption tour. That was another big, exorcism there for him to kind of get to this thing, and then it comes full circle. I'll write about this in a little while. I was talking to Mike when he got off the podium. I had a couple more questions. We were just kind of standing there one-on-one chatting for a second, and I got interrupted by John Cohen, the Mississippi State Athletics Director, and who was on the Division I selection committee for teams. As Ole Miss gets in as the last team, he walks up, tells Mike that he's proud of him. Congratulations, and wished him luck and told him to go win a championship. So a little bit of symmetry there with Mike and John.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just such an incredible story, and then to go from the last team in. We talked about 7-14, but the last team in. I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 to Texas A&M. They lose to Vanderbilt. They spend 5 days. You and I on that Monday morning. You didn't think they were getting in. I didn't think they were getting in. We knew what was probably coming that afternoon. We were preparing for that part of our coverage. If you had stopped time in that moment, I was outside in my yard moving a water sprinkler when I was talking to you. If someone had stopped time at that moment and said, hey, guys, they jumped in on the call and said, hey, guys, they're going to be playing in the National Championship Series this month, I think we both would have been like, you're an absolute idiot. I mean, we wouldn't have believed the baseball gods if they'd stopped and told us.
Because in some ways, the craziest part is getting in. Because nobody gave them even a chance. You talked about this, NC State thought they got robbed. Now, look, Ole Miss and NC State deserve to be in above Grand Canyon. They were the team that should not have made the NCAA tournament. But nonetheless, it's every step. And then they get in and say, okay, well, you can only get to the regional if you do it this one way. And super regional, you do it this one way. And then the College World Series this one way. Well, they didn't. They got beat yesterday. That was a really emotional team last night after Arkansas knocks them off to force this game. To the point that I sort of, in a weird way, kind of worried about them because I said that's not a normal reaction after just losing a game and still being alive. Peyton Chatagnier, I believe, was in tears after the game last night. Mike admitted it was going to take a little while to get over it. Mike said today that was a tougher loss than even he had let on, that the players were really, really down. And somehow they elevated back. They played really good defense for them relative. Arkansas was phenomenal defensively, and Ole Miss just kept attacking with the bats and finding a way to scratch a couple runs there. Dave Van Horn saying that Kevin Graham was giving him nightmares, and he's excited to just simply be done with him. Kevin does have a year remaining, but at this point, it's hard to see he or Justin Bench coming back. But nonetheless, they got back up, and I think DeLucia's a huge reason for that. I think Elko and Graham and the leadership they have is a huge reason for that. And I think the whole day Mike had a good tone. He was playing around. He was laughing. He was incredibly loose before the game today. And I think they shook off all those cobwebs. And look, Oklahoma is in great shape from a pitching standpoint. You're going to have a storyline with Cade Horton pitching against the team he was committed to at one point, the freshman for the Sooners. But the way Ole Miss is playing, Dave Van Horn said it. He goes, I'm not sure it matters.
So let's get to that. Ole Miss and Oklahoma. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Obviously, Dylan DeLucia won't go until Monday. He's not pitching Saturday's game, I don't think. He's not pitching Sunday's game. So you got to win one of the next two. You know this team a whole lot better than I do. Hunter Elliott, you need to win his start. Do you even contemplate, Chase, going Johnny Holstaff on Saturday to give him the extra day of rest on Sunday?
I think it's worth a conversation. I think it's something you have to consider for a couple different reasons. I also don't think that will happen. I think Hunter Elliott will get the ball Saturday. Nobody asked Mike. We got plenty of time for that. There'll be a press conference tomorrow at 11, by the way, between the two head coaches, Skip Johnson for Oklahoma and Mike Bianco for Ole Miss. Mike's going to throw Hunter on Saturday. If he doesn't, I'll be shocked. I'll eat the words and I'll say I was wrong. But he's going to throw him. But I do think it's worth the conversation because a couple of reasons. Hunter has handled things. It's not the normal freshman where he's going to freak out if he's facing an elimination game. At that point, you have to win his start. You've just got to win one of the two. You got to win one of the two and then try to win game 3. And if you happen to win the first 2, okay, you're national champions. But Hunter's the one that you have to win. So do whatever it is to put him in the best situation. He'll handle Sunday if it's Sunday. He'll handle Saturday if it's Saturday. But it's where you need him to be honest with you. Hey, how are you feeling? Would one day help? What have we seen in the past? You haven't thrown in a ton of short rest, and even though it's one day, it's going to be a really emotional day one way or the other, all these different things. So, no, look, Ole Miss, the path, who says, on paper, is to win Hunter Elliott's start and win one more. So I think you've got to, You check with him. I don't think you even announce a starter before you have to. I mean, Dave Van Horn's kind of shown that. Mike's really quick to name starters. Dave wasn't. There's no rush. Figure it out. See how Hunter feels, and you go from there, because you're right. You just got to win one of them. You got to win his start, and you got to find another one. So
Yeah.
if he's a little better on Sunday, if you've seen that in the past, you've got some evidence of that, because they've had some, you've had some Friday to Sundays and then Thursday to Friday, Thursday to Saturdays. You've seen Hunter in short. Go back, look at it, check the numbers, and then make a decision. If there's no difference, then you throw him on Saturday. If there is a difference, hold him and throw him game 2. He's going to pitch either way.
Yeah, because there's no difference at all in losing game 1 and winning game 2, or winning game 1 and losing game 2. It's the same damn thing getting to Monday. I mean, I know you have the emotions of whichever game is the win and the emotions of whichever game is the loss, but it's the same thing. I mean, you're at this point, right? It feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like you're just trying to get the ball to Dylan DeLucia. I mean, he was nails against Auburn. He was phenomenal today against Arkansas. You want the ball in his hands with the series on the line, and unless you can win 2 in a row, at which point you can just let him sit over there and celebrate. But if you're going to use him, you're not using him until Monday, so you got to make sure you get there.
You do, and look, we're back to where last night we said, here's the silver lining. You would have been much better off to win last night, all those things. We understand that. But the silver lining was that it wasn't pitching that beat them. They're going to go into Saturday or Sunday or whichever game that Hunter Elliott doesn't pitch, and they're going to feel good about John Gaddis. They're going to feel good about Jack Washburn. They're going to feel good about Mallett's coming in whenever he does. He's fresh. Brandon Johnson just threw the 1 inning against Arkansas because, frankly, Mike just wanted to get on the mound because they keep winning games without needing him. I mean, Ole Miss is set up really well in the bullpen. They're set up okay, and suddenly guys are throwing better. This park fits Ole Miss pretty well when they don't walk anybody. Gaddis didn't really walk anybody. Washburn was great. Doherty was great last night. I mean, it's okay. I mean, that's the thing about this. They built a park here in Omaha that they thought wouldn't help any certain kind of team. But what it does is it absolutely helps you if you don't walk anybody, you don't make errors, you don't hit anybody. If you make them hit, you can run up a lot of outs. You can stay in ball games, and Ole Miss is really good on the back end. So that's the goal here. And I think the offense has got to be a little better. I mean, if you really look at, hey, what's got to happen, Oklahoma's really good, number 1 and number 2 in that rotation. You got to hit a little better. They're not putting enough quality at bats in. They're not getting on base enough. Now, look, Nolan was good.
How much of that, Chase, not to interrupt you, Chase, how much of that was the fact that you're playing SEC West teams who know you really well and who, if they can execute pitches, they can get you out?
It is a factor. I don't know if it's as big of a factor because we have so much technology today. You know what I mean? Like, analytics are so deep. There's so much video.
Right.
You play so many teams where people can say it. Look, it matters. I mean, you're going to know tendencies and feel and people by being around them as much as Ole Miss and Arkansas are around one another. I mean, David Horn said he thinks he's played Mike Bianco over 70 times during their career. But I think that was a bigger deal 10 years ago than it is today. I mean, every SEC park has TrackMan in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're
sure.
just seeing so many different things. You can get all the information to where there really aren't any secrets. I mean, it's why Ole Miss keeps hitting into the shift, because teams shift into Ole Miss knowing they don't do a very good job of hitting out of it. I mean, we're seeing all those different things. So they just got to get better at bats. They got to stop swinging at freaking sliders in the dirt. I mean, it's kind of baseball 101. If there is a slider that starts either down or away, it's only going to get more down and more away. So you don't swing at it. I mean, that's
if you're Oklahoma, man,
they're not recognizing it. It's not that they don't know what to do. There's a lot of tunneling. Tunneling has gotten better.
It has.
And they're not seeing slider out of the hand. They're seeing fastball, and then you look stupid when you're looking fastball and it's a slider.
All these guys, all these pitchers all over the country, they want to get on Pitching Ninja. They figured out, they've learned tunneling. I mean, like we talked about it today. You mentioned it a minute ago. Connor Nolan was great. I mean, I don't know what Van Horn said or what Mike said, but Connor Nolan was great for Arkansas today. He wasn't great enough, but if you had offered Dave Van Horn, hey, your starter's going to give you 8 innings, 2 runs, I think he would have thought, we're either going into the 9th with the game on the line or we're winning. I think that's what he would have thought. So, I mean, that's to me, that's as big a part of DeLucia's outing as anything, was that he was so perfect in a game where he had to be.
He fed off of it. I think he got better as Nolan was putting up zeros. There's an energy to Dylan DeLucia that he's sort of in a way, and it's not in a negative way or a vindictive way or anything else. He kind of pitches with a chip on his shoulder. He's the guy that pitches with, hey, I wasn't a starter at the start of the season. I mean, he uses all that. It's a weird fuel. He was using Connor Nolan throwing up zeros, and Nolan was the first guy to kind of flinch. I mean, Connor Nolan in the postgame press conference admitted that he was going in the tunnel between innings when he was not pitching, almost kind of nerves, and he was listening to the crowd. And he said, I knew what DeLucia was doing. He wasn't walking anybody. He wasn't helping us out. I would hear the Ole Miss, basically a pro Ole Miss crowd today. I mean, Ole Miss had more fans here than Arkansas did.
Yeah.
And he was hearing the crowd and the hotty toddies and the cheers and kind of going, hell, okay, I got to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again. And look, he was great, but he had a couple lapses. He admitted that when Kevin Graham was up on the run that scored there to start it off in the fourth, he just threw a get-over curveball. He goes, I was just trying to get ahead of him. He goes, I kind of stopped for a minute. I wasn't really thinking.
Because he had spent,
he had focused.
He
hit that line.
He had focused so hard on Elko and got Elko, and I think he exhaled for a minute, and Graham kind of ambushed him. That was a big moment in that game. You know, I thought it was the irony really of that game was that as good as Arkansas's defense was, and it was phenomenal. I mean, some of the plays they made were amazing. But a couple of the runs scored off a ball that kind of more misplayed a little, and then one was on a ball that I guess it was Graham hit it down the line. I can't remember exactly who, but Stovall dove for it, and the ball hit his glove. I mean, he was right there. It was so close to being – we were so close really to having a 0-0 game, like eighth inning, where it was just going to be just everybody biting their nails. I mean, it was one of those kind of games. It was a masterpiece in so many ways. It was a classic in so many ways. I appreciated the fact that it was 2 hours and 9 minutes. I'm going to get to watch the NBA draft in a little while. But it was really it was a game that I think anybody, like we talk about our friend in Dubuque, the guy watching in Dubuque is watching every pitch of that because it just, you're like, what's going to happen? And we'll be talking about Dylan DeLucia's outing for a long time.
They were the last couple innings. That's what I keep focusing on because I'll write about this in a second when we get off. Dylan is almost pacing between innings. He's not actually walking, but he's moving back and forth. He's putting his weight on his left foot and then his right foot. He was just trying to get back out there. I mean, he said that he had almost kind of a flow over the game moment. He said he didn't realize what inning it was in. He just kind of knew he was pitching, and he looked up in the eighth and saw all the zeros and said, "Okay, I can finish this thing. I can go the rest of the way." Well, I feel okay at that point. Once he got there in the eighth inning, I mean, he was just feeding off of it. And you know, you talked about it last night. You said two proud programs. Whichever one wins is going to have to fight off the other one.
Yep.
It's hard to get those final 3 outs, those final 6 outs. The other team does bear down. They work you. Arkansas. You know, nobody thought they were just going to go quietly into the night, and they did because of Dylan DeLucia. They hit a bunch of ground balls. They just never could muster anything against him. They couldn't find a barrel, and Ole Miss was playing so loose defensively. I mean, it was pointed out that I don't remember if it was the 8th or the 9th inning, but somebody hit a ball at Justin Bench at third, and he almost threw it off his back foot like he was taking infield, outfield before the game. I mean, he was just kind of flicking it over to Elko, and he went, "Oh my God, there's one out in the 8th," and there was no bearing down. They were loose. They were free. DeLucia wasn't walking anybody. He was working fast. He was being efficient. They were just kind of playing baseball. And at that point, when that's going on, I mean, that's a really dangerous team on the mound and in the field.
Yeah, Peyton Chatney made a nice play at second base. Kevin Graham made a really nice play in left field on a ball that almost got over his head. It kind of got into the jet stream a little bit, and he made a play there. There was more to it than just DeLucia, but it will be remembered as the DeLucia game. There's no question about that. A couple of questions people have had. Do you know who the home team will be on Saturday?
I will ask that literally as soon as I walk out. They did not tell us like usual in the press conference. It might even be something where they flip a coin at the press conference tomorrow. I have no idea, but if there has made a decision, I will know the answer to that in the next few minutes.
Also, I've had a lot of questions about Gonzalez. Certainly has not played well, has not hit well, has not played well in the field. Is he hurt? What's going on there?
I don't think he's hurt. I was talking to Nick Suss about this at some point during the game. You know, Jacob, he struggled at the beginning of the year when it was cold. When the weather warmed up, he played pretty good shortstop for most of the time. But he has more tools than he necessarily is completely developed playing the position if that makes sense. He's got the huge arm. He's got range. I understand why teams are going to pick him in the top 5 or the top 10 of the draft next year. But the routine play kind of gets him. He doesn't make the routine play well. He talked about that even in the preseason, that he's had to kind of tell himself, hey, throw the ball to first base hard every time or do this or whatever. There's still not a feel for the position for him. And at the plate, I think he's just scuffling. I think he's just struggling. But I'll tell you, his form looks off. We talked about this last night. He just looks different in the box. He doesn't look overly confident. Some of that may be an actual confidence thing, and some of that is he plays one speed, and that's not necessarily bad. I'm not criticizing Gonzalez, but college baseball is pretty emotional. A lot of guys sort of do some different things to pep themselves up. It's a little bit of a pep rally at times, and that's not Gonzalez at all. He's almost kind of in slow motion, and that can really help him at times. And I think at times that bogs him down because he doesn't seem to kind of have that extra place to go to kind of pull himself out of it. And when you have that sort of mentality and you're struggling and you're doing it offensively and defensively, and maybe he's in his head a little bit because, it's a credit to two guys. It's a credit to Peyton Chatagnier when he was struggling offensively in the middle of the year, and it was a credit to Hayden Dunhurst for a good bit here the last few weeks, is that it didn't bleed over into the other parts of their game. I mean, I can't say for sure that Gonzalez isn't doing one of those deals where he's thinking so much about some of these at-bats he's letting go that it's affecting concentration, it's affecting things in the field because – that happens a lot, and Ole Miss has been lucky that has not happened across the diamond because they've had some guys have issues offensively, but especially with Dunhurst and Chatagnier, they've stayed in there and really played well defensively during the stretch run.
I'm going to ask you this question and ask you to talk for a few minutes because I'm total transparency here. Campbell just got home for the weekend, and I'm going to go give her a hug and tell her hello.
Okay.
So I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes to talk, and then I'll be back. What does this win mean for the program? What does this mean? What does this win mean for Mike Bianco, his legacy, for the Ole Miss program moving forward? No matter what happens either Oklahoma or Ole Miss is going to win a national title. They're going to play for it, and someone's going to win it, and someone's going to lose it. And you obviously don't have a crystal ball. If you do, let me know because I'll fly to Vegas and I'll make some quick cash. But just at this point, whether they finish number 1 or they finish number 2, what does this mean for the program, for Mike, for the university moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the platitudes. It's everything that you would think of from a standpoint of it's huge. It's huge in a number of ways. You look at the micro view. It's huge because they even got past what that mess was in the late innings last night. I mean, if Ole Miss loses this game today, it would have been a hell of a season. It would be a successful season. I mean, Dave Van Horn after the game talked about that he was just proud that his team got on the plane the Wednesday prior and finished their season in the College World Series. It's like the Final Four. It's like a college football playoff. That's what Omaha is, just getting there. But had you lost last night and then lost today, and you had the bases loaded in the 9th inning and couldn't get it done, and you had Mike making a couple decisions that were coin flips where he lost or bad decisions there in the late innings with pinch hitters and whatnot, it would have put a certain cloud over things because you had such an opportunity to get to that final series. It was right there for the taking. And by winning today and DeLucia pitching like he did and doing it this way, that's all cleansed. I mean, of course, Ole Miss isn't as good of a shape with the pitching staff as they would have been at that point, but there's a definite cleansing of this whole thing. And that's what I said a second ago. I mean, you look at what this program has done, they've kind of gotten rid of all the scar tissue. Along the way, as time has gone on, depending on who they've played or what they've done, they get hot at the right time. It's something that Mike's teams have not done as far as getting hot at the right time at the late of the year. They go win a road regional. They've never done that before under Mike Bianco. They do it in dominating fashion. They beat Miami. They beat Arizona, teams that have knocked them out in the past. You go play a spunky, plucky Southern Miss program and just dominate them. You go at Hattiesburg and control the entire weekend at that point. And then you get to Omaha, and with everything that has been going on and everything that you could do to just be happy to be here, they fought. They kept winning. They did, what Butch Thompson talked about is, hey, aim high and try to hit that. Don't just kind of aim low and be lucky to get there and then scuffle around and finish 5th or 3rd and go, hey, we had a hell of a season and let's go have a parade and celebrate being, almost good enough. No, they locked in. They kept fighting, and this changes everything for Mike Bianco. I mean, he's going to get a raise, he's going to get an extension. He was going to do that anyway, but now you're talking about he's 2 wins away from hitting every single check mark imaginable, and you're talking about renaming stadiums. You're talking about statues. You're talking about those type of things with this legacy and what's an opportunity for Ole Miss here. And just one hell of a story when you factor in everything they did to get here. Ole Miss was a program that we've always talked about, how good are they? They're consistently a regular season program. It's always top 15, top 20 in the country. They host half the time. They make super regionals. But They hadn't had that Omaha success. They
Yeah.
hadn't done that extra thing to really be vaulted into an elite program. Now they have that. I mean, there's nothing left to do. If they win a national championship, then it is completely 100% done. Mike Bianco's here until Mike Bianco doesn't want to be here. That might be the case anyway at this point, because second place is still a hell of an accomplishment as far as getting to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we can throw all that to bed, but no, we're talking about a weekend for legacy, but the legacy's already been established. I mean, you look around, Dave Van Horn is not getting fired to Arkansas. Well, he's never done anything but finish second, too. You know what I mean? I mean, it's one of those deals. So, no, it changes the program in every way imaginable. This run that Ole Miss has going on right now, you hope that it removes scar tissue everywhere, all the way up and down. This is the complete surgical procedure this week to just go, you know what, they're just a really good elite baseball program that next year Mike's going to find a way to be consistent. He's going to find a way to win. And now you don't have to hope that you can do it. You know you can do it. You saw it last year. Just get in the tournament, keep going. This is a program cleansing that has been a long time in the making. There's lots of layers to it. I mean, it's the most fascinating story I've ever covered from an on-field standpoint. I've been doing this for a long time. It's my 17th season around them. I've seen all the negatives. I've seen all the losses, all the times of, just misses.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty special for him. We don't necessarily cheer for teams, but you care about people. And you've had Carl Lafferty, who's the longest tenured assistant in the SEC. You've got Mike, who's been through all that. Mike Clement came after Godwin came. It's Mike credited his staff. It's just a lot of people who've done it the right way for a really long time, and it's pretty damn cool to see them get rewarded this week.
Agree completely. Hey, thanks for the time. I know you got stuff to write. I'll visit with you at some point tomorrow, and we'll touch base with what we're doing moving forward. I'm arranging I'll take care of hand raise guys this week. Let's put it that way. We lost Chase. That was sorry. And then I hang up on it. That was Chase Parham. He's got work to do. Check out his writing at rebelgrove.com. If you're not a subscriber, now would be a great time to just subscribe to rebelgrove.com. It's cheaper than 2 gallons of gas a month if you subscribe for an annual subscription. Also, do us a favor. Hit the like button if you're not subscribing to this channel, to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit the like button. Please subscribe. We're really close to 5,000 subscriptions. We've got some podcast news coming your way in the next few days. That's big news for us, and won't really affect you guys, but it's big news for us. It's good news for what we're trying to do moving forward. So do us a favor if you would. If you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We probably don't mention that enough, but we'd really appreciate it. What was the Woj bomb? Someone says, Leif says Woj just dropped a Woj bomb. Oh, about Paolo. Okay. Yeah, there's nobody wants to hear me talk about this. I have prepared for this NBA draft in ways that I'm almost embarrassed to admit. I've probably listened to 50 hours of podcast about this draft if I've listened to one. And there was some offshore movement involving who the Magic would take at number 1. There was some talk about Banchero going number 1 to Orlando. There's been some talk about Houston trading up, all sorts of stuff. So, okay, that's interesting. Draft starts in about 30 minutes. Hey, who do we have?
Hey, this is David from Georgia.
Hey, David. What's up?
I'm in absolute shock. I can't believe it. I know some guys have talked about the greatest performance in Ole Miss baseball history. I'm willing to put this up there with the greatest performance in Ole Miss history. Up there with the Manning versus Alabama when he had like over 500 yards of offense against them. That was incredible.
Yeah, it was, and so many levels. I mean, we've talked about it. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point, but it was amazing. I mean, it would have been one thing, right, if Ole Miss was up 8-9-0, but they weren't. It was like 1-0, and he's out there. It was 0-0, and he's throwing up goose eggs. It's 1-0, and he's throwing up goose eggs. It's 2-0, and he's still doing it. I mean, 2 on, 2 out in the 7th, and he gets Slavens to ground out to second base. I mean, just time after time, he answered the bell on a day where, I mean, going into the game, I thought, they're going for 5 innings.
Yeah, that's I was like I do with every Ole Miss sporting event. My dad lives in Mississippi. I live in Georgia, and we are on the phone basically the entire game, whether it's football, baseball, whatever. And we both said to each other that DeLucia had, about the 5th inning, I told my dad, I said, he's got the look like he's not coming out of this game. He just looks like he's not coming out. And the stage that this is on, the way he pitched, it was just, like the guy said earlier, if you're going to build Elko a statue, DeLucia's needs to be about a foot taller because we are not here without him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's been. I can remember a phone conversation that Chase and I had earlier in the year. Ironically, I've told the story on the podcast. I was in Tupelo. My son was at his club soccer practice, and I was walking laps around the track at that facility over there. And I had 2 games on my phone because I was just trying to entertain myself while I walked for 2 hours. I was watching Ole Miss and Mississippi State. It was a Thursday night. I was watching Ole Miss and State, and I was watching Arkansas LSU. And it was Dylan DeLucia was pitching for Ole Miss. I don't know who was pitching for State. It didn't matter. But it was Connor Noland and the Hilliard kid for LSU pitching. And I remember calling Chase and going, how come DeLucia hasn't been doing this all year? He's the same as those 2 guys. He's similar stuff. They're all good pitchers. And at the time, it was like, to me, this is like the indictment on Mike that they couldn't figure out that they had this Friday night guy. But it turns out that they got it figured out in enough time, and here we are. And
I think the first time that I was screaming, DeLucia needs to get put in the rotation, and I think I was talking about putting him in Friday night. He came in relief in a game and gave us like 6 or 7 shutout innings. And I was like, nobody else is doing anything. Hell, give him a shot. And I was just like, what? And I was thinking the same way you were. This is an indictment. You're not even giving the guy a chance. But to be where we were and where we are now, and I was a little more emotional than I thought I was going to be. Like when he struck the guy out to end the game, I screamed, I jumped up, I got dizzy. I acted like a 6-year-old boy, and it was incredible. This is why I love sports so much, even with all the heartbreak. But I'll let you get to other callers, and thanks for everything you guys do. And I don't know if you ever thought that y'all were going to be covering a national championship game, when you took over the site, but this is absolutely incredible for me. So you have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thank you very much. I never thought that we wouldn't. If you had told me in April that we were covering one this year, I wouldn't have believed it. By the way, Chase sent me a text. Oklahoma, I should say, will be the home team for games 1 and 3. Ole Miss will be the home team for game 2. So for the people that wanted to know how that worked, Oklahoma is the home team for game 1, Ole Miss for game 2. If there's a game 3, the Sooners will be the home team. I don't know why that's the case. So if you ask why, I don't know the answer, but I do know that is the facts. Oklahoma, the home team in game 1, Ole Miss in game 2, and if there's a third game, Oklahoma will be the home team. I need to thank some people for Super Chats. Russell Harris, thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. That's very generous of you. We certainly appreciate it. I know I missed a couple of others. Another from Russell. He says, I can't go to Omaha. It's killing me. If you're going to rob a bank in Oxford, this is probably the weekend to do it. Blake Pierce says it would Super Chat more, but your boy has craft beer to buy in Omaha, so Blake's on his way to Omaha. I think a lot of people will, thanks to Pocket Watch as well. Yes, please. Thanks to Big Ben. Thanks to Holden. I think I mentioned John earlier, John Nothdurft. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I apologize. Yeah, if you're headed to Omaha, be safe. If you're going to rob a bank in Oxford, this is probably the weekend to pull it off. Monday be a good day to do your thing, because there's not going to be anybody here. Everybody's getting out of here at this point. There will be lots of tickets available. I think everyone in Omaha knew that today either Ole Miss or Arkansas was going to get eliminated, which meant one of those fan bases was going to get out of town and the other was going to come in and pull up all of the rooms and all of the tickets. I think that will be the case. I'm going to tape with Carrie Murdoch tomorrow from Sooner Scoop. The plan is I'm talking to Carrie and I'm talking to David DeLucci tomorrow. I will make that a hand raise, guys. It's going to be video. Listen, there's a chance. I can't get into why, but I'm telling you now so that you'll know. There's a chance that that's going to be video only on Friday and into Saturday and maybe all day Saturday. So if you want to watch that or hear that, there's a chance you'll have to do it here on YouTube. We've got some stuff going on with that we'll be able to tell you about later with our podcast network. But there's a chance that we're not going to be able to load things tomorrow, late Friday into Saturday. So planning to have that show for you. It's a chance it's going to be video only, though. So be aware of that. I'll let you know. I'll post on the board and Twitter and all of that stuff when the time comes. All right. Phone lines are open for a few more minutes. I'll take your calls. Let's see. Here's one. Hey, who do we have?
Matt.
Hey, Matt. What's up? Hey, Matt. Turn your device down. You'll be able to keep up better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Got it muted.
Good. All good.
Cool. How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm terrific. So I felt the need to call in and tell this wild story. So I just happened to be easily could have been working in New Orleans this week. Was working in Fayetteville or this week. I'm sorry, not weekend. And I'm going to be working in Fayetteville from Wednesday to Friday this week, and that obviously helps my case with the missus on, hey, look, if the Revs make it to the weekend, I'm only going to be 6 hours away. I've got to go, right? Well, so one of my buddies, he flies from New Orleans to Fayetteville today. I pick him up when I'm done with work. We're literally in the hotel watching the Revs. We don't know if we're going north or south tomorrow, essentially.
Yeah, sure.
So we're obviously going north and just ecstatic. Got rooms booked. So we and I know you know Fayetteville, Neil. So we got a burger today at Hugo's.
Yeah.
And my boy was wearing a Chatinier jersey. No lie, wearing a Chatinier jersey. Got multiple comments in Hugo's on people like, "You're pretty brave wearing the jersey in here." So
yeah,
it was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So it was just a crazy experience to be in Fayetteville because the other day I'm working and people that I'm working around are like, yeah, well, I hope, when I see you Friday, I hope you're about to be heading south, not north, and
sure.
And so
yeah,
they're like, before the game Wednesday, and they're like, well, we'll see what happens. It's just to be in Fayetteville with this, and then we're headed north, not south.
Yeah, I know people don't believe this, but in Fayetteville itself, there's a lot of mutual respect for the Ole Miss program. I've been there and talked to people and know that to be a fact. I mean, there's a ton of respect. I know that Dave Van Horn has a ton of respect for Ole Miss, for what Mike's done. Frankly, everyone around the league has a ton of respect for what Mike has done. 22 years at one program with the consistency that Mike has had, people have noticed it, and Van Horn's certainly one of those guys. And I know that the whole rivalry thing gets weird and all that stuff, and I know there's parts of the Arkansas fan base that are stuck in the 50s probably, and it's probably maybe the 1850s, but my experience, and I've been up there a lot the last 3 years, my experience has been a lot of respect for what Mike has done with baseball.
For sure. And like you said before, a lot of times baseball fans are different than kind of the football crowd and everything like that. And, something I was going to call in last show, but you had a bunch of yahoos calling in and it got late. And I was like, I'll hopefully call in next time after a win. But something I just wanted to ask you about, I've been following you and Chase for over a decade now. This has got to be, as far as any of the big three programs y'all have covered, and y'all cover them all so well in your own way. This has got to be this run from, legitimately coaching changes happening to this.
Yeah,
I would just love that. I don't even know what would compare. I'm sure you would mention AK from the run they went on with Marshall and everything. And
no, this is different.
I don't even know what would come close.
This is different. Look, I'll say this now. We've got 3 items. They're still sitting in our admin, and I don't delete them because I didn't write them. Chase did. But I keep looking at them, and I have to always be careful not to accidentally hit something in our admin. Chase wrote a column about covering Mike, kind of in a past tense. He wrote he had a hot board, and he had a story about the beginning of the search for Mike's replacement. Those were all pertinent stories that were done. At this point, if you followed us, we've been together for, 11, 12 years, something like that, maybe more. I lose track of time. I guess more than that, 13 years. You either trust our sourcing or you don't. And
for sure,
that Monday, it was over. It was over. It's the craziest part of the story is that, no joke. This is that Monday morning, Memorial Day. We had planted a bunch of new sod, and you have to water new sod. And I was outside moving sprinklers, making sure that all the sod got wet so that, it wouldn't burn up and all that stuff. And Chase called, and I answered with, "Hey, what's up?" And he's talking about how he doesn't know yet, but he's pretty sure they're not in, and here's what's going to happen. And we're kind of talking about timing and when are we going to do a podcast. And we normally don't do a podcast on that Monday. And we were like, well, we probably should do one this afternoon because we were under the belief that Mike was going to get fired. And I came back in here, and I was working on something else. I was working on some recruiting stuff, and I don't remember what else it was. I don't know. It was a Monday. And someone called me and said, "Hey, have you heard that Ole Miss is in?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "I heard they're in." And I asked him who his source was, and he told me. And he goes, "You can't burn me." I said, "No, I'm not burning you, but are you sure?" And he goes, "Well, I'm not positive, but I believe the source." And I said, "Okay, well, let me work on it a little bit." And frankly, I spent the next 30 minutes thinking he was wrong, and kind of stumbled around a little bit and thought maybe he's not wrong. And about that time, Chase called me, and he goes, "I've got something, but it's off the record." And he told me what it was. And even at that point, our whole conversation, when we realized that Ole Miss was in as a 3 seed in Coral Gables, that's who they were going to play Arizona, and they were in Miami, and whoever the 4th team was, I can't even remember now. It doesn't matter. Even at that point, his conversation to me was, well, it won't matter. It all it does is delay the inevitable. And that's why the part of this is so crazy is that we're sitting here tonight talking about a team that's about to play for the national championship starting on Saturday night. The juxtaposition of where things actually were on Memorial Day compared to where things are at this hour on June the 23rd is just, it's almost impossible to believe, frankly.
It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, and, it's the equivalent of a 13 seed or a 12 seed in the NCAA basketball tournament making it to the Monday night final. It just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. It never happens. If it's ever happened, someone's going to tell me when it was. Maybe someone's done it once, but it doesn't happen. The last team into the NCAA basketball tournament, it gets beat. Maybe it makes the Sweet 16, but that's as far as it goes. Usually it gets beat in the first round, loses the second round. They don't do this. This is an incredible story.
Well, and absolutely. And something I like to look back at is the first game of the tournament. Shat's double down the line. That you could argue that that blowing that game open, getting us in the winners bracket, as y'all talked about, as a lot of the fans talked about, we got to stay on schedule. We can't get the losers bracket. That you could argue that was the biggest play of this run, biggest at bat of this run, was that which was a great at bat, if I'm not mistaken. Where and Chet laced that double down the left field line, that right there, getting us in the winners bracket, allowing us to have that opportunity to win that 2-1 game against Miami, and then, I mean, it's just wild how it's all unfolded, and I'm at the end of the day, I'm just so pumped for these players. I mean, all us Ole Miss fans, especially the left field crew, I'll sit with, they're probably listening. I mean, we love this group of players. It's been up and down. I mean, some of these guys we're on the 18 team, the 19 team, of course. I mean, they've been through a ton, and a ton of us are heading out here if they're not already have been there the whole time. So yeah, it's fun. So I appreciate, as everybody says, appreciate everything you and Chase do, Neil, and all y'all staff, and yeah, man, y'all keep it going.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the call. Safe travels up to Omaha.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Ginger points out in the thread, she's right. People were seriously asking for a hot board. Her words, Ginger writes, fans were begging for a hot board. People would say, why not put up a hot board? And I'd say, because in the event that something crazy happens, you look like a fool. I rest my case. That is why you don't put up a hot board. Right there. Hey, who do we have? Hey, who's this?
Hey, this is Chilbro Swagons.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Chilbro Swagons.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Chilbro Swagons.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Neil. Hey, first-time caller, man. I just want to say how excited I am to head up to Omaha. I want to give a shout-out to my wife. Her birthday is Saturday. She went to Southern Miss, so last weekend was stressful. She's allowing me to go to Omaha this weekend on her birthday. It took a nice jewelry gift, but it was totally worth it. Look, I was at Ole Miss from 05 to 09. We saw some near misses. Never thought that we would be in the position that we are right now. I booked a plane ticket that hurt a little bit financially just now, but man, that's what money's for. I just wanted to tell a quick story. 6 years ago, I was working for the local alumni club, and I got asked to pick up Mike Bianco at the airport. I was nervous as hell because I had a small truck that wasn't really comfortable, but he's a small fella, so it worked out. But I asked Coach Bianco a question, and I just thought that this would be some fun trivia for anybody listening. I said, hey, Coach, I've been in Ole Miss a while. You've been a fan for a while. When do you think the beer shower started? Coach Bianco's answer was a Mark Wright home run against Miami in the Super Regional. I just thought everybody would appreciate hearing that. Look, I'm proud of the Rebs, proud of Bianco. I'll hang up and listen. Neil, thanks for all you do.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, I would not have known the answer to that. Now that I think about it, that's a really good trivia question. Where did that come from? Adam Silver getting ready to – Adam Silver's one weird-looking dude. NBA draft getting started. Expectation is Jabari Smith goes first. I know nobody cares. I care. I'm sorry. I got to remember where I am. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've done my walk each morning listening to NBA draft stuff. All right, let's see. I need to put the phone line back up. If you guys want to call. There it is. I don't know why the graphics are moving all over the place. I'm doing something wrong. Hey, who do we have?
Hey, this is Will.
Hey, Will.
Hey, so can we talk about DeLucia again? Just because that was insane.
Sure.
And that was at the South Carolina series. Sorry about that. And I was talking to, I think it was his cousin, and he kept saying, "Yeah, Dylan hadn't done well, but he's a starter. He's not a reliever." And I was thinking, okay, yeah, but you're just his cousin. It was the hype up of he's better than what he's shown. And he said, if Mike would put him in, he could go off. And the guy wasn't wrong. He knew what he was saying, and that's just insane. And then one more question. What do you think people aren't going to like this? What do you think the Grizzlies are going to do at 23?
At 23, I think they're going to take a backup point guard. I think they're either going to take Kennedy Chandler or Ty Ty.
Okay. And then what about the JD Note guy? Is he not going tonight?
No, he won't be drafted. If anybody off that Arkansas team gets drafted, it's Jalen Williams. He'll go the second round at some point to somebody.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to ask.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
It was kind of mind-boggling.
Note feels like the kind of guy that goes to Europe and plays for a long time.
Yeah. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. I don't know that he's an NBA player, though. He's a really good college player who can score. Size is some issue for him. He's the kind of guy that goes to Spain or something and plays 10 years, and if he's smart, makes a ton of money.
All right, I got you. Well, thank you for clearing that up for me because I was just mind-boggling. Like I said, I saw that today, and I was like, wait, where is this guy?
Yeah, no, he's kind of like a Brian Tyree kind of player. I mean, he might get some time in the G League. I just like both of them are scorers. Both of them are a little small. It's just kind of hard if you don't have an elite skill, it's hard to make it in the NBA.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that. I knew you would know, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. There has been some talk about the Grizzlies trading up, actually. There is some talk about Memphis and OG Anunoby from Toronto. Toronto talking about moving him potentially. He would make a ton of sense in Memphis, a Memphis team that is really close. And sometimes when you're this close, you got to go make that run. He would make a lot of sense for the Grizzlies. And, yeah, I've heard that talked about a lot today. Talk about Portland with Anunoby, talk about Memphis with him as well. So I keep kind of thinking the Grizzlies will make a move here because they've got some cap room to work with as well. Again, big night for Ole Miss, big night for Dylan DeLucia. Ole Miss and Oklahoma starts on Saturday, 6:00. I was wrong earlier about Sunday. It's 2:00, not 1:00. 2:00 on Sunday. And then, if necessary, it's a Monday night, game 3 at 6:00. All those games on ESPN. Don't forget, Sammy brings this up, get your College Corner gear. If you're heading up to Omaha, grab you some gear. Don't forget on Sunday afternoon or Monday in the event that Ole Miss wins a national championship. While you're super excited, go to collegecornerstore.com, enter College World Series in the search, and order all of your Ole Miss national championship gear from the people at collegecornerstore.com. Make sure they know, please, that you appreciate them sponsoring all of these shows. We're going to do another one of these on Saturday night, win or lose. We'll do one on Sunday afternoon, win or lose. And then, obviously, clearly, if there's a Monday game, we'll do it Monday night, win or lose, and take your calls and talk to Jeffrey and Brian and Chase from Omaha. Again, thanks to the people at Corinth Dental, Clearwater Group for making it a little easier for us to send Chase to Omaha for what now will be 10 or 11 days. So, yeah, thanks to all of them for being a part of the show and for helping us over the years. I'm going to make this last call, if that's okay. My daughter's here. I want to go visit with her. I feel bad doing that, but we've been going for almost 2 hours now. So I'll put the phone number up one more time. NBA draft about to get started. There's the number 662-259-0991. Let's see what Paolo going 1 according to Woj. Wow. That's really shocking, and it makes what Oklahoma City does at number 2, because I assume Oklahoma City prefers Chet Holmgren to Jabari Smith, but I don't know how much of that is because of the assumption that Jabari would not be available, because I think the Thunder have operated under the premise that Jabari would go number 1. All right, here's our last call. Hey, who do we have?
Hey, Neil, it's Andy out of Louisville.
Hey, Andy, what's up?
Hey, I just want to say, I apologize. I really expected us to blow today, but we didn't. I'm just flabbergasted. I don't really know what to say other than I'm just so happy that now, we're going to compete for a national championship, which is really what you'd expect out of a team that you'd like to follow. I'm just so happy.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, your team's going to play for the national championship. I mean, there's only 2 teams in the country that are in that spot. You and Oklahoma. Everybody else in the world would trade places right now.
Exactly. So my fiance, she's a Rice grad. She probably doesn't really understand the sport of baseball, but she understands that they've won a national championship. So I'm glad that maybe I will now be able to, check my Rice grad fiance, future wife, that Ole Miss don't try to mess with us. We're also okay at baseball every once in a while.
Yeah, well, you're playing for the national championship. You got a chance to win it here in the next couple of days. So, yeah, I mean, congratulations. It's a really fun time for you guys.
I agree. Shout out to Steven and Austin. Thanks, Neil. Enjoy your daughter being at home or on the phone or whatever, and have a great day.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you. I know we're not here to talk about the NBA. Forgive me for a minute. I'm just stunned here. I spent the last month, like everybody else, just assuming that Jabari Smith was going number 1, and now I'm fascinated to see what happens with the Thunder on the pick. Jabari is the guy that I think of all the guys, he's the most ready to help right now today. Of those 3 guys, I think he has the lowest upside. He's not a good defender. He's an elite passer. He's a facilitator on offense. He's 6'10", 245. I mean, God, he looks the part, but wow. You've got, Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren, their upsides are just off the charts. And when you're number 1, you got to swing. You got to swing. Forgive me a minute. I need to see what. Trying to find out things. I apologize. I know this is terrible pod. We are 2 hours in, so I don't feel quite as guilty. If I were doing this in the first 30 minutes, I'd feel like terrible. Again, there were some people that were asking about home team. That's been asked. Oklahoma's the home team in games 1 and 3. Ole Miss is the home team in game 2. Oh, okay. Someone asked me who I want. I don't know. I've spent the month talking myself into Chet Holmgren, and now I've talked myself into Holmgren, and now that Jabari's available, I think I'm high. I think Jabari is the safer pick of the 2. Yeah, Carson's going nuts right now. He's blowing my phone up. people don't know this. So we drive to Tupelo every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and we have talked about this draft, the two of us, 100 hours. I mean, we have listened to Andrew Schleck's podcast on where he breaks down prospects. We've listened to the podcast about Jabari. We've listened to the breakdown of Chet. We've read all of the athletic stuff. He says, I think I want Jabari, but I'm cool with Chet too. He says, we're about to find out. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm going to turn this up a little bit so I can see him. If you're still with me at this point, I apologize. And by the way, thanks to all 515 of you that are still in here 2 hours into a stream. We're literally 13 seconds away from the 2-hour mark. Yeah, and I know people say that about Chet, about how he's skinny and stuff, but he's really tough. He's strong. He's got a great work ethic. He's not Sean Bradley. His upside is phenomenal. He's at minimum he's a defensive whiz who can shoot threes. At maximum, he's something between Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm not saying he's that guy, but that's his kind of upside. Thanks, Daniel, for the super chat. It says, doing a great job, Hottie Toddy. Been out here since last Friday, not leaving till the Rebels do. Yeah, it's been a long time to be out there. Pick is in. Everyone is saying it's Holmgren. Knowing what I know about the Thunder over all these years, I'll be shocked if it's not Holmgren. The more I think about it, he seems like more their guy. Thunder take Holmgren. That's what I thought they would do. Wow. Not the best night so far for Jabari Smith, but I think that's the guy that the Thunder wanted all along. I think it was the reason that they tanked down the stretch to get into the top 4. I think he's who they wanted. He fits so well with Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's going to struggle in his rookie year, which is a good thing because I think the Thunder want to lose one more year. He's what you do when you have the second pick. You swing. You swing. And that's a swing. You absolutely swing at this point. You don't go safe. That's what Orlando just did. Orlando went safe, and it might end up being the right pick, but they went safe. The two guys that have chances in this draft to be superstars in terms of potential bigs are Smith and Holmgren. All right, this isn't great pod at this point, so I apologize. Daniel, again, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate you. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'm going to go see what happens. It looks like Jabari Smith is going to fall into Houston's lap, I'm guessing, although Houston at this point might think about Jaden Ivey. Ivey's the wild card in the draft. A lot of people trying to trade up to get him at 4. If Houston, as I'd heard, Houston had its mindset on Paolo Banchero, and so it makes me wonder if at this point Houston's on the phone here in the next 4 minutes and 25 seconds trying to trade out of this. Wouldn't be surprised. Houston has all sorts of needs. They needed a big to facilitate, and that was Banchero. That's not Jabari. So I don't know what Houston does here. They've got Jalen. They've got Jalen Green. They don't really need another backcourt guy. Green's a ball dominant guy. Ivy's a ball dominant guy. I think Jabari just makes sense for them here, but that's not who they had in mind. I think they spent the last month believing they were going to get Paolo Banchero from Duke, and Paolo goes number 1. Everybody said this draft had a chance to be wild if you watched people. I don't know how many of you guys did. If you listened to people today, a lot of people said, hey, this draft could get weird. And here it is, weird. Carson does not want to get on camera, I think. So I think that's why he's not coming in. Yeah, I asked if he was pleased. He said, hell yeah, but I feel bad for Jabari. We've talked about these people so much that in our house, these people are first name. we refer to all of these guys as first name. We'll talk about Shaden and Jabari and Jaden and stuff. It's hilarious. We've spent so much time on this draft that it's insane. So again, kind of wrapping up as we wait to see what Houston does. Ole Miss wins today 2-0. A legendary outing from Dylan DeLucia, an outing that people will be talking about for years and decades to come, frankly. Ole Miss will play Oklahoma on Saturday night, game 1 of the championship series. It's a 3-game series, first to win 2. It's basically a super regional. To win a national championship, you have to win a regional, a super regional, a regional, and a super regional. Today, Ole Miss won a regional by beating Arkansas 2-0, and now they'll play a super regional against Oklahoma. Saturday at 6, Sunday at 2, and then if there's a game on Monday, it's a 6 o'clock game, which will be one of the least productive work days in the history of Mississippi and Ole Miss alumni. I'm guessing. Yeah, Jabari appears to be in tears. He's 18 years old. Can you imagine this 18-year-old? And you go all this time thinking you're going to be the first pick in the draft or the second pick in the draft, I think he's just getting taken right now by the Houston Rockets. So, he'll this will be something that will motivate him moving forward. I love Jabari Smith's game. He's a great shooter. Probably what they're talking about right now. He's got a chance to be somewhere between Paul George and Kawhi Leonard as a player, but the Rockets have picked him, obviously, so he's about to be called up. And if you're waiting for the draft to get really weird, it's got a chance to get weird next. Sacramento, one of the most unpredictable teams in the league, will be on the clock in a minute, and they might or might not take Jaden Ivey. They might trade that pick. The Knicks have been trying to trade up to that pick. The Thunder have been rumored to be trying to trade up to that pick. So the league, the draft could get weird here quick. There are a handful of teams who have the ability to make an offer to Sacramento that they would take. Jaden Ivey does not want to go to Sacramento. That's part of the deal too. So, all right, we'll stop there. I've rambled long enough. Thank you all for being here with us. We will make this the Friday podcast. Again, I'm going to tape tomorrow with a couple of guests. It's probably going to be in YouTube form at first. We've got something going on with our podcast channel that's really good news. I'm not at liberty to talk about it yet, but it's coming. We'll tell you about it. It's great news for us. Most of you guys will never even notice the difference, but it's really good news for us. It's also going to mean that we're not going to have access to it after a little while tomorrow for about a day or so. So anyway, we'll be back on Saturday night with a post-game show. As soon as Oklahoma and Ole Miss throw the last pitch of the Saturday game, we'll hit the button and get to you guys. Jabari Smith just goes third to the Houston Rockets. So not too bad of a fall, but not going number one. We will stop there. Again, Ole Miss 2, Arkansas 0. Ole Miss plays for the national championship. For Chase Parham, for Brian Rippee, for Jeffrey Wright, I'm Neil McCready. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Saturday night. Good night.